I'm sitting here with somebody that I just met, but we're very good friends both with Michael Hayes, who is the one that introduced me to you. This is Bill Champlin from the Sons of Champlin in Chicago, and all around just an amazing musician.
I'm one of the fabulous formers. Used to be doing that.
No, you're an amazing talent, man. So I just wanted to kind of go over a little bit about your beginnings. You were born in Oakland?
Yeah, my mom and dad lived in Piedmont, actually.
Okay.
And which is part of Oakland.
Yeah.
And Dad had a law firm in Oakland, Stark and Champlin. And that was kind of his group there. And then my parents were divorced when I was about 5 and a half, almost 6. And then my mom and 2 sisters and I moved to Santa Cruz. We lived in Santa Cruz for a while. And we moved to Santa Barbara for a while.
Oh, okay.
And then I think right before 7th grade, we moved back to Mill Valley.
Oh, okay.
So I went to Edna McGuire Junior High School in Mill Valley and Tam High School.
Tam High. I just drove by it. Yeah.
A beautiful campus.
It is a beautiful
still to this day.
Yeah, sure
It's
is.
great. It's a great place to grow up. I mean, Tam and I were driving around. I think we went out to Fairfax for some reason. Then we were coming back through San Anselmo. I ended up in some of the back roads and everything.
Yeah.
I said, what a beautiful place.
It really
grow
is.
Up. Yeah,
No, I'm in love with Marin County lately.
It's pretty
I
crazy.
really am. West Marin just is.
Well, I
spectacular.
mean, I lived in Inverness for a while.
Did you really?
Yeah.
I love Inverness.
It's just something about it's really
Yeah. It's magical.
You go about 20 more miles and you're at Drake's Bay.
Right.
Next thing you know, you're on your way to Japan, I guess.
No, it's a magical place. It really is.
And there's just something about it, you know. But I was loving Mount Tam because I mean, to this day in LA, I mean, if it's 105 degrees here, it's going to be 105 degrees here. Marin County could be 105, 40.
Right.
5 miles away. So I
Right.
kind of learned to keep a funky sweatshirt and maybe a blanket in the trunk of the car.
Right. Good
Just
point.
in case you get one of those situations and the car breaks down. It was really hot this morning, but it's.
Now, did you hang out at all in Stinson Beach or Bolinas at all?
I'd go out there kind of regularly.
Uh-huh.
I love going up the mountain.
Yeah.
And then Lake Alpine and there. But I didn't usually go all the way over to Stinson. I know I got friends living out in Stinson.
Right.
Dave Jenkins from Pablo Cruz lives out there. So
Oh, okay.
got a pad there, and I think he's got a pad in Nashville also.
Right.
And, Dave's a real good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Sweetie Pie, him and his wife, Jamie Pie, great singer.
Well, you got really deep roots in Marin,
Yeah,
obviously.
I was like Marin. I mean, I moved here when I was right before 7th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And then after high school, I stayed here for a while after high school. Went into college, stuff like that. Was married really young.
Obviously.
I was trying to live out of Chuck Berry songs. It goes to show you never can tell.
Right.
The Frigidaire full of TV dinners and ginger ale. What a great song!
He was such a great songwriter.
Genius.
He was like a television.
Such a weird guy because
strange bird.
he was a bit of a racist in a weird sort of. He didn't like white
He
people
was,
very much.
yeah, but he was.
I mean,
he was sure like white women.
He's something like he was way into. He just got really angry when the Beach Boys made as much as they made.
Yeah.
Off Surfing USA. Eventually, they settled up, but it took a lot of years.
Yeah.
So Chuck
And he got a lot of rotten
but
shakes.
Chuck defined young white teenage life.
That's right.
In the 50s better than anybody.
That's true. It's absolutely
It was
true.
insane. He defined the age group. And
Yeah.
Man, just so
more
good
than
with
anybody,
it.
like you say.
Yeah, more than anybody. I mean,
Yeah.
Amazingly intelligent, right?
Yes, he was.
And-
Yeah. Well, they're like small plays.
But he
the way
was,
you
he was really an asshole in so many ways. I mean, he just get angry for
Right.
no reason.
Didn't treat bands very well.
Didn't treat bands very well. So when I do this, start. When I do this, stop. Do you want to rehearse any of your stuff and sound check? No. When I do this, start. I'm in A flat all night. When I do this, stop.
And give me my money now
Yeah.
before I get out on stage.
The Sons were playing a gig at a club on Rush Street in Chicago. And
Right.
It was right the same night the Rolling Stones and a bunch of other bands had just played. And the airplane came, the airplane was there. They just played the gig. And they said, man, Chuck was supposed to play. And I think they were paying him like, what, $1,500?
Right. Right.
To play for 20,000 people?
That's pretty absurd.
The Stones walk away with most of that money.
Right.
They would just say he wouldn't go on stage unless he had cash in his hand.
Yeah, that's
They
right.
had to go out and they had to borrow the float from the bus drivers and truck drivers.
Wow.
Until they had it. Because, Mick Jagger didn't have 15.
Oh, no.
His manager didn't. Nobody, they all had checks. They'll write you a check. No, you can't.
Right.
I ain't taking a check from
I like what he used to do with his amplifiers. Did you ever hear about that?
No.
He'd go, you're supposed to have a twin reverb from me. They go, oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Barry, we don't have one. He goes, well, that's all right. I got one in my car. Give me the money. You can get like $500
to rent
his
own
amp.
Yeah. There you go. Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a way about it.
So when you got to when you started high school, you were playing. I assume before that you were playing piano. Is that right?
Yeah, I was more of a piano player. I wanted to play guitar, so I played a lot of guitar.
Uh-huh.
Me and Pete Cyril's, Winston Cyril's youngest brother.
Uh-huh.
He was a good drummer for a kid his age.
Mm-hmm.
7th or 8th grade, we did a talent show in McGuire one time, and it was kind of sort of the beginning of it. I think my first actual paid gig was I got $3 to play at Stinson Beach Women's Club or Community Center or whatever it was. Piano had 3 notes that it still had ivory on it. The rest of them were wood and splinters. That's when I started going, I think I got to start renting
renting gear, yeah.
Before they made Roses or RMIs.
Right.
It was all Wurlitzers, the stuff that Ray Charles played on the first handful of records. Very nutty scene.
So now guitar, did you start at the same time? Or?
I started guitar actually. I started piano when I was 3 years old.
Wow.
My mother had. I remember the piano teacher's name was Mrs. Champlin with a B.
Huh.
Whatever that means. Somehow I remembered it.
Yeah.
And my mom was she was a crazy woman, drunk, all of that. Not really hanging over the edge, but crazy.
Yeah.
And she was really kind of a good, very talented musician.
Mm-hmm.
So she used to, when I was just a baby, she'd put me in a playpen and stick me under the piano and just sit and play all that.
Wow. Your mom would?
Yeah.
Wow.
So she was, she got me lessons when I was I think 3 and a half. I was actually reading Bartok and some of these little kids things that Mozart and Bartok did just for the sake of kids.
It's incredible.
And so I was able to read all that, but before I could read English.
Yeah.
And then my mom mentioned, well, David is the son of her real close friend. He plays by ear, so I went, I'm not reading anymore. The last thing she should have told me was that, because I'd probably be still reading.
Yeah.
And I just went, nah, if you can't pick it up by ear, it don't bother me.
So you must have had a good ear then.
I got it.
Yeah, I bet you did.
Yeah. Foster said that to me with some of my words. Man, you got a ridiculous ear. Your piano chops are a little kind of sticky.
It's so funny because I just did an interview. Literally, the guy I interviewed right before you said a lot of the same stuff you're saying. About that he stopped reading and played by ear?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, what to be able to read like that, it's a great tool. A lot of guys, all these guys that you see, Michael Lamarty and David Foster and David Page and all these guys are all readers.
Yeah.
And these guys, the whole West Coast music scene was built on people that are on a little better education than what the original rock and roll was built on.
Right. Right.
And that's what I think that's one of the things that really differentiated West Coast music from all the rest.
Mhm.
Now, West Coast music, I think, pretty much, I mean, even though it's not a West Coast band per se, but I think it was once Steely Dan started stretching.
Right.
You know, I mean, their first stuff was pretty straight ahead.
Mhm.
It wasn't too, lyrically, it was always pretty cool.
Yeah.
But musically, it was always really simple compared to the stuff they're doing now.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
then suddenly they just started, and I had to hand it to them because they got into it enough to where music started to happen to them.
Mhm.
And instead of going, no, I don't want that because people don't understand it, they went, I'm following you.
Hmm.
And I think that's that's why Steely Dan turned into the really honorable thing that it turned into.
Yeah.
It was really, really cool. I mean, by the time, Asia came around, forget about it.
Yeah.
Well, Scam, some of those records had such great chord changes and stuff. And a friend of mine, Tom Scott, who went to go work with him on a couple of records.
Tom Scott, the saxophone
Yeah,
player?
saxophone. Great musician.
Yeah.
He said, man, I thought they knew what all those chords were. And, at that point, Donald Fagen was calling them moo chords.
Calling them moo chords?
Moo chords.
What's that mean?
I don't know what it
He
is.
didn't know what it is.
I think at this
Yeah.
point he probably knows a 13th of a flat 9.
Right.
Or whatever it is. I think he just kind of didn't want to use that kind of terminology
Right.
because it sounded
Too technical
a
or
little too
something.
technical, a little too classical,
Right.
or straight ahead. But I think a lot of Jeff Becerra was an amazing reader. A lot of these players, all the guys in Toto were that crazy.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Foster wrote. I used their rhythm section for half of my first solo.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I used Ray
Was it
Parker's
singles?
rhythm section, the single album.
Singles?
I used Ray Parker's rhythm section for pretty much the other half.
Okay.
And then I saw there's a thing that I brought in, and Foster really, I was there, but David really did most of the arrangement on this song "Keys to the Kingdom," which is
Oh, yeah.
an
Yeah, I heard
amazing
that.
piece of music.
I heard that.
I
Yeah.
just walked in, I saw Jeff
Yeah.
reading that on the
So that's not your song.
the song is.
song is yours?
Once you get to where I'm singing,
Okay.
that's my song.
All right.
Up to that point, the whole intro and everything was David.
Okay.
And that's kind of where.
So I have a question for you. When you started the Sons, did you guys start as like a 6-piece band without horns, or did you add the horns right away?
Guys, we had guitar, keyboards, bass, drums, and sax.
So there was a sax player.
Yeah.
Okay.
Tim Kaine, but
And he's the same guy that says he's still with you?
yeah.
Right. We're talking about horns and what you had the one horn player, but then you ended up adding more horn players?
At some point, yeah.
Yeah. Was
Well,
that
what
was
kinda-
that during the first
What
album?
kind of came
or-
down to it, at one point, I wanted to learn how to play trumpet, so I could play
Oh.
organ with one hand and trumpet with the other.
Wow.
So Tim and I could do,
Gee.
but now try singing.
That
Did
could be
I
tricky.
think? Did I think of that in front?
That
No.
could be.
But I
tricky.
did kind of learn how.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing.
We could do a night train.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
A friend of mine, she had a band where the piano player could play
Yeah.
cornet like that.
There was a group called the Noonie Rickett Four, where the bass player would play the bass instead of plucking it, he'd just hit it hard
Right.
and play trumpet
Wow.
at the same time. It was great
That's
musician.
amazing.
There was a group called the Big Beats, where the bass player did the same thing.
Yeah.
I've been the same guy for all I know.
Yeah.
But they were like a show band out of Las Vegas, and we used to go see them. I think at the Off Broadway on a regular basis
Wow.
because they were bad ass.
I bet.
Really a good band.
Yeah.
Just everything that it's funny. Their sax player says, "Don't ever be scared of copying shit. If you hear something you like, steal it."
Right.
We stole-
Exactly.
We
Yeah.
stole some of their arrangements and used them for ourselves.
Yeah. So the Sons were you guys a band by 67?
Yeah, we started in '65.
65 you actually started. Okay. And so by the time the first
Pretty much right on the heels of graduating from high school.
and the first album is 68,
I think it was released in '68.
but it was
We
67.
rehearsed the shit out of it in '67.
Yeah.
It may have been. It was either '68 or '69. I can't remember.
Yeah. Okay.
I know it came out the same day as Chicago's double album.
So basically the two bands were pretty much at the same time.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And Tower came along later. Tower Power.
Yeah, Tower.
Okay.
I think I consider them like second generation.
Right.
Yeah, real musicians. We didn't, I mean, a lot of the San Francisco musicians, it doesn't really pertain to the songwriting. I mean, because I think in a lot of ways we were kind of second. The next generation.
The next generation.
On the heels of Quicksilver and
right.
Great Society.
Right.
All the different things that
The
come
Dead.
before us. The
Yeah.
Dead,
Right.
the Airplane.
Right.
All those seem to had got more established.
Right.
And then we were kind of like in between that and Tower, Doobie, Santana.
That's kind of more your
That
generation.
next run
yeah.
of guys.
Right.
All
I
of
could
whom
see
were-
that. Yeah.
They
I could see
paid
that.
attention.
Yeah.
Go down the line a little ways, you get Huey Lewis and the News. They really paid attention. Those guys just, man.
And you worked a lot with both Billy Gibbs.
Yeah, he
Billy
plays with the Sons
Yeah, he
now.
plays with you guys now, and
Yeah,
then
we just did
Mario Cipollina used to play.
Yeah, I used to play with
Yeah.
Mario a lot. I
Yeah.
don't anymore. We got in the Sons. We got Dwayne Pate on bass.
Right.
We got Bill Gibson on drums.
Right.
We got Tal Morris on guitar, and believe me, that guy's a monster. Just
Cool, man.
great guitar.
I'm gonna try to make it down there Wednesday.
Yeah, check it
Yeah,
out.
I do.
Check it out.
I want to check it out.
It's really worth.
And I'm just curious, like the Sons now, are you guys doing kind of a mix of all the Sons records?
Not really, I mean, at this point, I've had to switch musicians. I mean, I had the same drummer for 10 years.
Right.
Alan Hertz was our drummer for a long time, but
Right.
he's a guy I use on drums for my solo records and mixing them. He's a great Pro Tools engineer.
Mm-hmm.
But he ended up moving to Nashville because it's just a better place for him.
Right.
Found a studio with a one bedroom apartment connected to it, nice backyard, nice
Yeah.
situation, and all his gear just fits in there like a glove. So Alan's really good. So I had to replace him. And I just went, I don't think there's any questions. It's got to be Bill if Bill can do it.
And who was the drummer before that? Preston?
Jim Preston.
Jim Preston?
Jim Preston passed away in 2014.
But he was with you guys for quite a while.
He was from 1972 to 2014.
Wow. Okay, that's
And
a
then
really
we just lost, yesterday we just lost David Champlin.
Oh,
The
man.
bass player. He was one of the producers on the first Sons album,
Wow.
the Loosen Up Naturally album.
Yeah, that's a great
And he
record.
was my favorite bass player on the earth, and one
Wow.
of my favorite people.
So that is the first album. Wasn't it?
Yeah, well, actually we had Bill Bowen on drums, and we had Al Strong on bass.
Okay, so
That group.
those guys were gone after
At some
that
point in
album.
the game, and I had explained this earlier.
Yeah.
At some point in the game, I kept writing more R&B feel stuff, and,
Mhm.
and that's just not the stuff that
Wasn't
those
very
two-
strong.
Wasn't very strong.
Yeah.
So I kind of had. That's when I got to Jim Preston instead because he was an R&B guy.
Right. So you guys, from what I can tell, you rehearsed the hell out of that.
We had a
You had to.
we had a rehearsal hall in right where Sausalito and Mill Valley kind of meet,
Right.
right under Richardson Overpass.
Oh, yeah.
The heliport.
Okay.
What we used to call it, and the music mecca of the Western world. We had a one there. Ace of Cups had one.
Right.
Had a room there. Electric Flag had a room there.
Interesting.
Actually, Blue Cheer had a room there.
Wow.
Down
Because
the
that's
hall.
the only place they can rehearse.
We sat, me and Hag one time just sat out on the wooden floor listening to them.
How loud it was.
It wasn't even that so much, but their guitar player was a monster. Great player.
Was he?
Wasn't the original guy.
Oh, okay. It wasn't the
They had
original
added
guy.
a new guy to it.
Okay.
Oh, now we're leaning toward Hendrix now.
Right.
They were really great, and I never saw them after that.
I think they played at my high school, that version.
He
Yeah.
was a really good
72.
guitar player.
72.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Badass.
Yeah,
I mean, everybody's got something to give.
Right.
Just something to give. And in Marin County, you're looking at there's something in the water here.
There must be. I was saying that too. It's like Marin has such a rich history of like famous musicians.
Well, I mean, look,
Could
I
have
think Van
either
Morrison-
moved here
Van
or
Morrison's
come out of
out
here.
right now. Who moved here?
Right.
But he's got John Allaire playing with him. And John was with the Custom Keys. How far back is that?
I don't know.
The Custom Keys were he used to play at Browns Hall in Mill Valley all the time. They were the rock band.
Huh.
I mean, this is when I was in 6th and 7th grade.
Wow.
7th grade is when I started, and I started hearing about them, and that's when I met Pete Cyril's. It was the little brother of Winston Cyril, and John Allaire was in that band. And,
I've heard his name for years.
John is.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, he's one of the mainstays of Marin music.
Yeah.
There was a group called Swingin' Deacons. It was John Cipollina, who
Right.
eventually went on to be in Quicksilver. But a guy named Adam Foreman, who was one of my all-time favorite musicians. Good drummer, good piano player, good
Now, were the
guitar player.
Chaplinas from Marin?
Yeah, they just
They were. They weren't from San Francisco.
Yeah, right up there, right up at the end of
Okay.
a little ways up Lydale.
Yeah. What a trip.
Long time.
I didn't know that. But yeah, I mean, when I think
John
about
was.
all the
I went.
people that
I was
were-
cruising with Adam.
Yeah.
I went with him to a gig with the Swingin' Deacons at the Sausalito Women's Club.
Uh-huh.
I'm in the wings just listening to the band, and John had an extra amp and a baritone guitar.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Right.
Like a Dwayne
Right.
Eddy thing.
Right.
And at some point, he just looked at me and says, "Here, play." It's the first time anybody handed me a
Wow.
guitar, and then I would just play it for any people.
Wow.
14 or something.
That is something.
And then Adam hooked me up with Ed Booth and some other guys.
Yeah.
You know, I played in numerous bands. Bruce Beimer was one of the members of the band. And Bruce was in a band called Freedom Highway in Marin County, and David Shallot was part of that band. So
Right.
it's a small,
Very kind of incestuous world in terms
you
of
know, we all
musicians.
knew.
Yeah.
Alex Call was part of Clover. He went on
Right.
to do some stuff. Huey was part of Clover.
Right. Well, I heard
John McPhee was part of the original Clover.
wasn't
McPhee's been
Alex
with,
Call before Huey got in?
Oh
or
yeah,
something?
way
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
and then
I was just listening to the Elvis Costello, the My Aim Is True record that they played on.
don't even know.
Yeah, they were the first. Clover was the backing band.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Cool. But McPhee, McPhee was really starting to make a lot of noise through Clover, but he was also one of the few guys that really played good with steel.
interesting. Yeah,
And now he plays fiddle. He plays.
wow.
John's he's an all-around cat.
Yeah,
He's been with the Doobie Brothers forever.
okay.
And
Right.
he's
Wow.
he's considered. I mean, for the Marin County scene, John McPhee is one of the all-around cats.
Yeah,
He knows the whole left side, right side, top, bottom, ins and outs of music. All the way
Yeah.
down.
wow.
It's a bad boy.
Well, that's what's so impressive about meeting you, man. Is it's like, when I started listening to Sons and your solo stuff, it just made me realize like you guys are on this whole different level of musicianship. No, I'm
Well-
serious. In terms of knowing music and knowing theory and just obviously knowing how to.
I've had so
construct
many
stuff.
manager types and even producer types. No, man, you got to simplify. You're just doing. You don't need how many chords. You don't need this. You don't need telling me all the things I shouldn't be,
Right.
other than the thing that I am,
Right. Exactly.
which is whatever the fuck I come up with today.
That's right.
And I think one of the reasons why I'm kind of I don't think I'll ever be a rock star. It's just,
Right.
I just
You're a musician first.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
it's about the music. It's about the
Yeah.
word.
Yeah.
I mean, although if somebody says, "Well, you're really just doing this for the fun now, aren't you?" You expect a sharp pounding sensation in your butt quite soon.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
if a club owner says that to you, he's about to pay you less than he should.
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, what's so amazing to me about you and a few other cats is just how you can synthesize all these styles of music into what you do. And I mean, the Sons were obviously an example of where you were mixing R&B, soul, jazz, rock, classical, everything into it, and coming up with something that was your own.
One of the things I loved about David Foster is he really found a lot of really great devices
Right.
in classical music,
Interesting.
as well as jazz and all the rest of stuff.
Right.
Your guy's an amazing piano player
Right.
and an amazing musician and just probably one of the most creative human beings I've ever met.
Right.
But his usage of, I mean, it's the first time I ever really thought of songwriting and music and arranging in terms of devices.
Yeah.
There's certain things you can do that have proven to cause this.
A certain reaction from
A
the
certain
audience
reaction
or
from the
whatever.
audience.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like a
Yeah.
minor
Right.
key can make people sad, a major key can make people happy.
Right.
Well, it goes way deeper.
Yeah. It
Minor
does.
and major, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Well, I was noticing it on something I was listening to today where you started off and you're doing a chorus and you're doing it like every two measures or whatever, and then you double it toward the end. Something like that. I mean, it's something fairly simple, but it's like really effective.
You got to look at a roadmap.
Yeah.
You try to look at it from here to here. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
A lot of songs just go like that.
Right.
And I always go, there's got to be something, a place to do something. And with Greg Matheson, a really good co-writer friend of mine, and great, unbelievable, great musician. And I would write with him, and I said, we need we got to have a little bit of business right there. Something's got to change right here. We got to have a surprise of some kind. And he always went, yeah, here comes Bill, and it's a little bit of business. And sure enough, I mean, there was one thing that was great. We had a song called First and Last. Actually, it's one of the few solo songs of mine that we do with the Sons. And there was a drum fill. Boom, back in.
Yeah.
So I said, make it a 5/4 bar.
Right.
Leave the
Right.
leave the fifth beat alone.
Right.
He said, "What for?" I said, "You'll find out."
Yeah. That's
So
great.
later on, we're doing background vocals, and one of the singers that I've sung with over the years, Carmen Twilly. Now the guitar player, Carmen Grillo, is a different guy. There's a couple of Carmens out there, right? But Carmen Twilly's, really taught me a lot about the range of, not so much the what, but the where.
Mhm.
Very, very good at it. And a big sister, and we're wonderful. I had such a falsetto in those days. I was singing alto, she was singing tenor,
Wow.
and she had this voice. So we're doing background vocals, and I got a million tracks at that one beat that I had that I never explained to Greg.
Uh-huh.
I said, Carmen, give me one at that, and she's one. With this giant sound, and I had her double it about 19 times. I found every track that was open at that point,
That's
put
great.
that on it.
That's great.
So it just came from left, right, center, all over. And I looked at Greg and I went, "See, it's just
Well, that's as
Out of
great
your
as
mind.
those things that are almost accidents in a way.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Really.
add another 3
Yeah.
beats here, do something with it,
Right.
just to make it a little bit different from the last time.
Right.
Even though you're going to probably fly some of these vocals anyway, that kind of, I don't want to get into what audio frequent flying's all about.
Right. Well, one thing that I found interesting was, like, you're talking about the Sons in Chicago basically coming out with their albums at the same time. I didn't realize it till I'd listened to you guys for a little bit that I can see why those guys wanted you in their band. Because you guys
They were real happy with what they had.
But I'm just saying,
Until Terry passed.
you guys were kind of like in a similar.
Yeah.
You guys were different.
Yeah.
You guys were funkier in my regard.
I think we were a little more R&B,
Yeah.
and they were a little more straight ahead.
Right.
We leaned toward the reeds, and they leaned toward the brass.
Right.
I mean, when your arranger is your trombone player, he's that good a player.
Right.
That's what ends up.
That's what ends up happening.
Yeah. I mean,
But I'm thinking vocally there was also similarities.
vocally,
too,
there's a lot of similarities because but
with the
most of that
harmonies.
with
and-
Peter.
yeah.
Peter's one of the all-time great voices.
Mhm.
Unbelievably great singer.
Yeah.
And great bass player too.
Mhm.
He's a piece of work, that guy. And when he got together with Foster,
Now, is he
Foster
the one
was
that got
on-
you in the band? Was it?
Everybody says Foster got me in the band. I
No,
got
no,
him.
no.
I got him.
Okay, but
Danny
Peter,
Seraphin got me.
okay, that's what it was. Yeah.
The
And
drummer.
he lobbied for it.
Yeah, he lobbied for me, and I talked to their manager.
Right.
We had a meeting at one
But
point.
it's funny because you
At
turned him
Panko
down.
at the meeting was going, we're a family, we really want to be a family. We're part of this thing. We're a family. And I said, I got a family already. What I'm looking for is a musical project.
Right.
And Satara just looked at me and he went, you got the gig.
Really?
He said, I said, man, the last time I related to my band as a family, it ended up not being happy.
Right.
Not much happy.
He's headed for divorce.
It's why I
Yeah.
left. It's kind of why I left the Sons.
Right.
Everybody was in each other's face.
But they were
about stuff that I don't even remember.
But they were like they had hit you up 3 years before you joined. Right?
Just for a second.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just, and what, I thought the gig that they were hitting me up for was guitar.
Oh.
And I went,
okay.
man, I like to play the guitar.
Right.
And I can maybe squeeze out one pretty good solo. One. All night playing guitar.
You didn't feel like it was you?
It's not. Well.
So were you playing B3 mainly with those guys?
I played piano.
Piano?
Yeah.
Okay.
Once we got in there, and then at some point I was writing with Danny and stuff like that. We cut one of the songs.
Mm-hmm.
We went and cut it. Foster was on piano. And he ended up being on Moog bass. I put the song in Peter Cetera's vocal key.
Mm-hmm.
And we cut the track. Actually, I was on a keyboard. I think Foster was on Rhodes. I was on the big piano.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Pinnock was playing guitar. We cut without a bass, but David just went in and put a Moog bass around. A song called "Sunny Thing" twice. And I went, well, it's nice to meet these guys. And man, you get a placement on a Chicago record. That's cool. And I got a call from Danny. He says, "We want you to pay."
Wow. Okay, so that was the first time.
Yeah. Well, the first time was right after the day after Terry passed.
Oh, okay. All right.
And,
Gotcha.
and I got heard about it, and I said, let me give you Carmen Grillo's number. He's a guitar player that can cut this gear.
Right.
They ended up getting Donnie Dacus, who's a gas. He's a sweetie pie. Yeah. He did some of the handful of their records, one or two of their records. But Carmen was really a good call for it. I just thought the gig was more of a guitar gig.
Mm-hmm.
Later on, when they came and asked me, I said, dude, I'm in the same position. I'm still not that great a guitar player. I like to play. And I think I got a nice shake, and there's certain things that I got about my playing that are good. But I stop at one or two solos, that's it. And I'm not that good. I'm really not that good. And he said, no. We got a guy, Chris Pinnock, who is still to this day a monster. Great guitar player. And so we got Chris Pinnock. We kind of need you to do this other thing. And at some point, Danny called me and says, what do you think of David Foster as a producer? And I said, well, I was out at your rehearsal, and I listened to the stuff that I think you're planning to record. You're going to have to throw most of it away. David's different. It's a different ball game.
And you already knew David at this point?
Yeah, David and I had already done. We'd done 2 solo albums.
2 albums, right.
And I did I was kind of the vocal ringer for the Tubes when he did their records.
Right. That's what I saw.
Alice Cooper,
you did
stuff like
so
that.
many different.
Yeah,
REO Speedwagon.
Yeah, we did a handful of stuff.
Yeah.
So it ended up being cool. It all ended up fine. David got in. David came in, started working and stuff like that. But I was just telling Danny, I said, if you want David, you got to remember it. Let him do his thing, and you're going to sell some records.
Right.
Because he's on a fucking roll right now. Nobody else is on.
So did they listen?
Toto was on.
Did they listen?
They got him.
Yeah.
I don't know how much management was involved in it, but they got him. He was hot as a pistol by that time. Because we'd had a Grammy with After the Love Is Gone.
Right.
And Foster had done some other really cool things. He'd just done the Tubes.
The Benson song, was that out?
Benson, that was a Graydon thing.
Okay.
That didn't happen until a little later.
Okay.
I got the After the Love was in '79, the Benson tune was '81. And that was fun. George is a sweetie pie.
Like that. What a historical guy, man.
What a major guitar
That guy
player.
is like so serious on the guitar.
I just want to cut
He's
his hands
sick,
off.
man.
Here, I got a home
he's
line
sick.
chainsaw, plenty of gas in it. Put your hand down right there. Come on, George. He's really a sweetie pie. Man.
Yeah. No, he's
Wonderful
an
guy.
incredible player.
Love him to death.
And a great singer. I mean, it's kind of amazing how He never sang, and then all of a sudden he's like,
yeah. Well, you know, it happened with Nat Cole.
right, exact same
Actually,
thing.
it happened with Elton John.
Exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now you went on you were on a tour with Leon Russell or something.
Well, the Sons' second line, Leon, on a tour at one point, and that was when Leon was using the Gap as his background.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Those guys, you know, the Wilson family,
Right.
all those guys are
They were,
based
yeah,
out
they
of
were
Tulsa.
out of Tulsa,
Yeah.
right? Because he recorded them.
I just went down and did a show. It was the first one they'd done
I saw that
at the
at the
At
church.
the church.
I saw that.
And this woman, I don't know if I could remember her name, if I could remember my own name,
Yeah.
I don't remember anything. But
You were the first one to do that?
yeah.
Really?
Loggins did one. A lot of different.
Yeah. We were there like 2 weeks ago.
Well, I went down and I played it, and the house B3 was pretty horrible shape. I let
Was
her
it?
know.
Yeah.
And I got a call from him about a week and a half later, from my friend Grady, sax player.
Right.
Had the band. He was
Right.
Really an old pal. And Grady said they fixed the B3, man. That sucker's smoking.
Really?
She put three or four grand. Yeah, after the show.
Yeah.
She put $3 or $4 grand into it, and people don't understand what that's about. B3s.
Right.
You got to
Right.
feed the gerbil that goes around
Right.
the thing.
Well, I understood that you had a lot to do with like certain that Hammond was asking you about.
There wasn't a hand on his chord.
It was a chord.
Chord
They
did
were
the-
asking you about settings and
They
stuff.
did the new CX3 and some of my drawbar
Right.
settings were
That was a trip.
put in.
Yeah.
Mine and who's the, I always forget his name, and I really should. An organ player from England.
Oh, Jarrett Watkins?
Known as himself. And
Not Winwood.
him and this guy.
Brian Auger?
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, I mean Auger had some sounds in it. Tom Coster had some sounds in
Hmm.
it. Not sounds, but drawbar settings.
Yeah.
George Duke, I think, had a few.
Really?
And
Okay.
I had a.
And you worked with him as well.
I've known George since I was seventh grade.
Right, because he was around.
Well, he was
Yeah.
he was the guy that the music teacher at Tam High, Bob Greenwood, was really great. He was really great. He was really great. To my family, he was a motherfucker, sweetie pie.
Yeah.
Real good friend and colleague, and one great musician. Played a lot of gigs on string bass.
On the string
Five
bass.
string
Really?
upright, five
Wow.
string upright. Yeah.
Wow.
Except the extra string is on the top.
And what was his name again?
Bob Greenwood.
Okay.
He was responsible for a lot of stuff, but he was. My sister was in that kind of opera, doing opera stuff,
Wow.
and Bob needed, orchestra wasn't going to pull it off, so he'd get George on piano. And George get, I think her name was Susie Parker, believe it or not, was the second piano player, and they would do all these Menotti opera, a Menotti opera called Medium. George was the guy. So I'd go see Sal doing that stuff, and in the process, I'd meet George.
Right.
And George's the guy. I mean, I was still in, I think, 7th or 8th grade. He said, "Hey man, every Tuesday night at Sausalito, this school in Sausalito, this guy named Spud Murphy had a rehearsal band. He said, come on down, check him out." So I went down there, and there's a piano. There was George doing solo. I'm standing behind him, listening to him solo. A couple of years back, I want to say probably 15 years ago, I was doing a gig in St. Lucia,
Uh-huh.
and George's band was there, and he just finished a solo. He gets up off the piano and he goes to a drum solo or something. Starts walking over toward the monitor board and says, "How many years do I have to sit here and watch you play solos from behind?"
You said that?
Yeah. We've known each other for years.
That's
And
amazing.
he said, "Man, that's great. I had dinner with your sister about
That's
a
awesome.
week ago."
Wow.
And Corrine, his wife, was there. I said,
Yeah.
"Hey, Corrine, look, there's Champlins here."
That's amazing.
And I wrote a tune with him on one of his albums.
Well, it sounds like, I mean, you've had all
So
these
George,
people,
I mean,
all these
Bobby
people in your life
Colomby
like that. Yeah.
he was gonna pat himself on the back for putting me and George Duke together. Dude, we played in a band together. Well, what band?
That's
The
funny.
Tamalpais marching band.
That's funny.
We did, because George was a trombone player.
Right. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Really?
on some of his solo records, he played some trombone and did some different.
And
things.
you play trumpet. Kinda.
No, once I realized I can't sing and play trumpet at the same
Right.
time,
He gave it
I
up.
went, forget it.
Yeah. Now, how did you learn guitar? I'm just curious.
I always just loved Elvis.
Yeah.
When I was in maybe second or third grade, so I'd get guitar lessons.
Uh-huh.
And it was too much for me, and I'd give it up.
Yeah.
Later on, I get more guitar lessons. It's too much. Finally, around sixth grade, I got a sixth grade teacher who was way into folk.
Right.
John Craig. Later on, he actually ended up buying the house my grandmother lived in for years.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
and Mr. Craig was a sweetie pie, and he taught me all the basics. And he was the guy that told my mom, "You're crazy if you don't give this guy."
Okay, so
Lessons.
he's the one that said that.
Yeah.
Okay.
He said, "You got it."
But you said you had a professor that said that too.
Well, no. This was a sixth grade teacher
Oh, okay.
who said that.
He was the one
And
that
then
said
so she
Yeah.
said, "Well, I'm gonna pay attention to that."
Yeah.
Because I was playing guitar, but he knew that
he could tell that you
there's
had
only a certain way you're gonna go with that.
right.
You're gonna have a lot more,
He could tell that you
much
had,
higher ceiling with a piano.
Right. Right.
And I've anybody that ever asked me, because you get a lot of people backstage and stuff where they have their grandkid with them. So should I have them take drum lessons? I said no. You should have them take piano lessons.
Interesting.
Everybody should start on piano.
Interesting.
If you get that thing pasted across your forehead,
Is that just for the knowledge of
it's just all
music
all
and how
of-
it all works
Yeah,
together?
all of your
Yeah.
theory is right
Yeah.
there. And
Right.
so if you can just,
Right.
you don't have to become a piano player.
Yeah.
But you have to know it enough to understand what it is.
Well, I could see that because a guitar is a lot more awkward when you're
Guitar's
talking
all
about
based on fourths, piano's
strings.
based
Yeah.
more on thirds. It's,
Right.
it's just the nature of
Yeah.
arrangement and stuff like that.
Right.
The piano just gives you a little bit of a kick up, to understanding the music.
So tell me about singing as far as like who were your
Well,
early
the first
besides
band I was in,
Elvis.
the Opposite Six, my drummer always, Dick Rogers, great guy, sweet, but Dick would say, "Man, my singer sounds like a duck." Because I had a real nasally voice.
Did you?
Yeah.
God, you get so much out of it, man.
At this point of the game, I've done a lot, and I wasn't expecting this to happen, but I got to LA with a record deal.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just waiting for the time where I could get in the studio and I was going to go in there with David and had it all wired up, all managed, managers and agents were all involved in it. It was all screaming. And I just kind of, in order to make the rent while all this was going on, I started taking vocal gigs.
Oh, you did?
David Foster and Jay Graydon were doing basics
Right.
all over town.
Okay.
And each one of them was probably doing 2 or 3 dates a day. And they would just say, well, Champlin say, his vocal stuff's great. So they would go and they would give my number to the producer that produced the basics and say, when you're ready for vocals, call this guy, he'll do you right.
Yeah, but you said you were taking vocal lessons.
No.
Oh, you're saying you were doing the overdubs.
I was just
Yeah, you were doing the overdubs.
background vocals.
Right.
That-
Okay.
All I was doing. That's kind of all I did for a long time.
How did you get was your range always as wide as it
somewhere
was?
along the line, I realized that it was funny. I was here in Marin County.
Yeah, because
Before
you
I
really
moved.
got a hell of a range.
Well, it's funny because I took an acid trip,
Uh-huh.
and I really got to where I started listening to the birds. I was up by Lake Alpine,
Right.
out in the woods,
Yeah.
laying by a creek. Wow, listen to these birds. They got no break.
Yeah.
These birds just,
Yeah, they can get there. Yeah.
There's no break.
Yeah.
And then I went, and their range, this bird can go this low, then can go this high.
Right.
I can't get past here.
Right.
And then I realized you got falsetto to use it.
Yeah.
So, and then I started saying, why? Yeah, it's there, strong. Why haven't I? Because when I was a kid, somebody said that's a girl's voice. So
Right.
it wasn't a real bad one,
So
but
you
it was
kind of had a
it was-
thing in your head.
It was a
Yeah.
sex hang-up.
Right. Right.
And I
Well,
I
how
just
did
went,
you? How did
well,
you?
shit, now
How
I
did
can
you
do
get
anything.
your vibrato to be strong like that?
Vibrato or falsetto?
Falsetto, I mean.
It just happened to be. I got lucky.
Yeah. So you just had power
Yeah,
there.
it ain't
Yeah.
there like that anymore.
Right.
I mean, I'll be 77.
So basically,
Next
most people lose their falsetto
Yeah.
at a certain age, huh?
Mine, I can use it for a little while and then it starts to go away.
Yeah.
In the
Because I mean, I've
studio-
heard B.B. King and Otis Rush and all these different blues guys kind of had great falsettos, but eventually they
Well,
lost.
BB, you listen to his early stuff and it's an octave higher than he sang.
That's what I'm saying. He sang really high.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he had that
He's young.
falsetto too. Yeah, true.
He was
That's
young.
you. Yeah.
You know, the falsetto, I was like Howard Tate had the
Oh God. Sick. Yeah, we were just talking about him too.
Yeah.
Hey man, it's been a pleasure,
Hey, well,
Bill.
thank you.
It really has.
Thank you.
You're really you're a real easygoing guy to talk to, and I just
Most of the time I try to be.
well, I love that you have a real you obviously have a first music first attitude, and I love to see that in people.